You know, they're selling y'all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I back. Trust me, I back.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
Ele deu nothing. Ele deu nothing. Shut your fucking mouth, ele deu nothing. Ele deu fucking nothing. Not one of you will do nothing.
I'll tell you what, bro. You know, I was out there, I was fighting all the hitters, bro. You ain't fought no hitters.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I would kill you.
John, do you think? John, do you think I'm just gonna sit there and let you kill me, John? I mean, really?
No, don't be scared, homie.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants.
I'm gonna beat you into the living death. I mean, maybe that's your job, but where I come from, you know, people like that get slapped.
That's fucking illegal.
Nick Diaz, you just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is a simulated death match. And you haven't simulated anybody's death yet.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
What is the game plan going in against him?
The game plan is you go in there, hit him with some good shit, don't get hit, and come home with a pocket full of cash.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up? What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of Mixed Combat Radio. We're going to discuss all things boxing, MMA, and everything in between. Obviously, it is review time. It's Anthony Joshua Povetkin, Kimura versus Tanaka, and, of course, UFC Sao Paulo in Brazil. Of course, Sao Paulo with Thiago Santos versus Eric Anders. Tons of fights to get to, tons of breakdowns to discuss, tons of analysis to give. Some little bit of news. Obviously, the Wilder Fury stuff we're going to get to in a little bit of conjunction with the AJ fight. I'm not going to keep them separate topics, so I feel like that's kind of pointless. If we're going to talk about AJ and his fight, we're going to have to talk about Wilder and Fury and the news that's coming out of that situation, that fight, etc. But good to see you guys. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe. Obviously, if you are new to the show, go to patreon.com/MixedCombatRadio. Help support the channel in any financial way. If you're listening on podcast form, leave that review on iTunes. Always helpful to spread exposure for the show. Shout out to Benjamin, Unbiased Boxing, Louie. Shout out to Louie, man. Shout out to Louie, a Patreon supporter. Bayside Boxing, another troll in the chat. Aaron Munoz, Real Nigel, some other Patreon supporters. Salute to you guys. And Ivan Diaz. So, yeah, obviously it's going to be an interesting show because I feel like I have some differing opinions than a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, from the media that I follow on Twitter and the people that I follow on Twitter. I saw a lot of negativity about the Anthony Joshua Povetkin fight in terms of Anthony Joshua's performance, or at least up until the knockout, because everyone agrees the knockout was insane. However, I saw a lot of criticism to I would say Anthony Joshua's perceived defensive flaws, and I'll be honest, I saw an improved Anthony Joshua in almost every capacity in this fight. We want him to be a little more aggressive than the last fights. He did that. We want him to throw in combinations. He did that. We wanted him to work behind the jab. He did that. Even me and Santiago mentioned it on the live show. The difference in just his posture and his stance, to be honest, is just interesting. Like I'll be honest, to see all the criticism to Anthony Joshua, I didn't even think that this was the fight to send the criticism out. I thought Anthony Joshua performed great. His performance, just his performance, I'm talking about post-fight interview, and I'm talking about anything like that, was phenomenal in my opinion. I only gave Povetkin 1 or 2 rounds at most. To me, Anthony Joshua clearly dominated the fight with his superior game plan, his execution of said game plan, his relentless jab to the body, I think set up a lot of his work. Benjamin saying Joshua gets hit a lot. Yeah, he's a hittable guy. I mean, he's not a Mayweather. He's not a Pernell Whitaker. He's not Tyson Fury, he doesn't have that head movement. He clearly doesn't. But I don't think we should want Anthony Joshua to be that. Anthony Joshua shouldn't be that guy. Anthony Joshua needs to be the tank that is marching you down with the jab, hurting you to the body, and when he does get you really hurt, he finishes you. He swarms you. He has a kill instinct. That's the best we should want Anthony Joshua to be. We shouldn't want him to be something that he is not. To expect Anthony Joshua to somehow pull out Tyson Fury-like footwork, great head movement, I just do not see that. And I thought Anthony Joshua was the more efficient fighter in the fight. I thought he landed the better shots throughout the fight. And then when he did have Povetkin hurt, he finished him completely. He missed one punch after he hurt him. The second he had him hurt with that right hand, he missed one punch, and in this the follow up afterwards. That was impressive. Every single shot landed with pinpoint accuracy, with fierce power. I thought it was a great performance. And again, I don't see as the performance as the hallmark of the criticism we should have. Now, obviously, moving on to more of the post-fight interview and him talking about putting up Twitter polls, which he did put up. Last time I checked, Wilder was ahead by like 50-something%. Dylan White had like 5%, and Tyson Fury had 40-something%, I want to say. I forget the exact numbers. But it was around that. It was only those three guys. I mean, what do you want me to say? I was pretty critical of it on the immediate reaction, live fight chat, and all my criticisms are still here. Like, I think, yeah, I get that Anthony Joshua is the good guy, the nice guy. He has set that brand around being the poster boy, Mr. Clean. And I understand it, but I think in this instance, you can still be that and call out Wilder. Like, actually call him out. Obviously, we're going to get to Wilder, Tyson Fury, rematch clauses, etc. later or after this. But if you're Anthony Joshua, you have the mic, you have the moment, and you say, it's the fight was great, but really everyone wants to talk about April 13th, right? I think is the date. Everyone wants to talk about that. That was the moment he could have pressed on everyone's throat. Shelly Finkel, Deontay Wilder, Al Heyman. He could have done that, and he didn't. He took the passive-aggressive, I'm not even going to mention your name route until 5 follow-ups later. And that, to me, in a lot of people's mind, even mine, kind of discredited this moment for him in an unfortunate way. It was a great win against his, third best opponent at worst, second best opponent to date, behind Klitschko or Parker, depending who you ask. And to completely botch the moment, to me, is what we're talking about. It's what we should be talking about, unfortunately. Because if you're Anthony Joshua and you have been media trained, you obviously have. You have been PR trained. How do you not recognize that is your moment to say something? To say, everyone wants to, hear about April 13th. Wilder, like, after you're done with, Cocaine Fury, and you don't even have to go that far, but after you're done with Fury, come see me. Wembley, here. Don't worry about the money. We're going to pay you what you want. Just come here, April 13th. I'll be waiting. Drop the mic, walk out. That's all you had to do. Instead of the, what do people want to see? What do you want to see? Do you want me to fight Wilder? I mean, I need to fight Wilder. That to me was just a complete botched moment, and that is unfortunate. And that, I think, that's probably the nicest way I can put it, to be honest, because it was really upsetting, to be honest, because these two guys, Wilder and AJ, should be in the driving seat to get this fight done and made for April. They should. And they've done basically everything they can do to not have it happen. And it's just upsetting as a fan, as a media member, as a consumer. It's unfortunate. And obviously, it's now, speak on it a little more broadly in a more macro sense, it seems a little bit pointless now to even have this discussion, to be honest, because now with the news coming out that both Wilder and Fury have rematch clauses for their December fight, allegedly, and this is per The Independent, I believe, by Tim Kershaw, I believe is the author, or the journalist. He's the first one that reported it from having talked to Ben Davidson, the trainer of Tyson Fury. Is April even an option anymore? Probably not, and that's unfortunate. Now it's It is 2020. It is looking like that. Are we going to get AJ Dillon White 2 in April? Obviously, a rematch, whatever happens in December in the first half of next year. Yeah, that's what it looks like. And we're going to put off this great fight, unfortunately, more and more. And, I see so many people that I respect echoing, obviously, Riddick Bowe, Lennox Lewis. And I really hope it's not that. I truly do. In an age where great fights are happening, where great fights are being made, great fights are being done, in front of us every weekend, it seems. A la Sho Kimura versus Kosei Tanaka, which we're going to get to. Salute to those guys. Seriously. Being a complete antithesis to all of the worst things about boxing. We're going to get to that. But it's sad. It's upsetting. I mean, how many times I need to say this? That this is the fight to make in boxing. I think we can all sit here and agree. Louis St. Matt, what's a two-way rematch clause? Yes, they both. So if Tyson Fury loses, he can enact the rematch clause and get the fight next. If Wilder loses, he can enact the rematch clause. What was I going to say? Louis threw me off. Not much else to say, honestly. Anthony Joshua, a great performance in the ring. Phenomenal, in my opinion. I thought that was improved performance. Things I wanted to see, I did see. So I'm glad. I'm not going to really criticize the performance like some people are doing. I think where they shouldn't. Of the performances we should criticize, this is not one. We're going to get a performance we can criticize after this. But botched moment in the ring. Now we have the two-way rematch clause, obviously, with Fury and Wilder, per Ben Davidson. So regardless of what happens December, they're fighting twice in a row. They're going to make the money. It is what it is. This is the business of boxing. Welcome to the sport. Glad you're here with me. And just to do that again, because we're going to get to Lawrence Okoli, who fought Matty Askin. And I'm not going to say anything about this fight. It was atrocious. It was bad in every way. But I will say this. Shout out to Lawrence Okoli, because saying these things as I get up right now, as I'm not prepared. 1 second. There we go. This is things I want to see from a young fighter that's making mistakes and putting on bad fights. Saying after the fight, wait a second, I just watched the fight back. Similar to British Beef, which was his fight before that with Isaac Chamberlain. I really need to work on this inside game. Winning is important, but OMG, I hated watching that. I have a lot more learning to do, because that wrestling is semi-effective but horrible to watch, even for me. Nah, watching that, winning's always good, but winning well is better. That was not won well. I'll go back to the drawing board and work on what needs doing, because I want to feel pride in not just my achievements, but my performance. Won't lie, I'm back in the gym ASAP. And that's really all I'm going to say about that, is that's what I want to see. I want to see a guy like Lawrence Okoli who has the height and the reach, seeming athletic abilities, that if he just puts the technique behind it, he could be a real force in the cruiserweight division, especially since he's so young, so early in his career. To see him acknowledge that, hey, I put on an awful shit fight. I do not want to look like the Miguel Vasquez of the cruiserweight division. I'm glad. That's what he should be saying. He should be looking at this fight and going, this was just awful, and work on it. Work on everything. And I said it during the fight, before the fight, after the fight. His inside game is atrocious. He seems so uncomfortable there. And plus, just his mid-range game. Like, to work at mid-range and throw hooks and uppercuts and slip shots, he's not comfortable there. He does not work there. He either needs to be completely on the outside or completely tied up and throwing dirty shots on the inside. And I don't mean dirty as in like cheating. I just mean like as in dirty boxing in that term, in that phrase. And which is fine. Like he said, he can win fights. That way you can. Not the highest level at the cruiserweight division, let's be honest. But at a certain level and make money, absolutely. However, if you want to be elite, you have to add to your game and add to your development here. Because that was just bad. That was awful. We've seen zero improvement from you in the last, 3 or 4 fights now, it seems. It really be sad to see a wasted talent like Lawrence Okolie, in my opinion. But moving on to the best fight of the weekend. Kosei Tanaka defeating Sho Kimura via majority decision. One scorecard draw, 115, and then there was a 115, 112, and then 116. Sorry, 115, 113, 112, 116, 112 scorecard for Kosei Tanaka to win. Now 3-division champ in 12 fights, tying Vasily Lomachenko's record while doing it undefeated. Being the likes of Angel Acosta, Moises Fuentes, Sho Kimura, obviously, established name. I was discussing or bouncing around people that I highly respect in the media game, about, Kosei Tanaka, what we should think about him moving forward. He's, at worst, a top 25 fighter in the world. At worst. At best, he's top 10, honestly. If you did not watch it, it's on YouTube. It's absolutely free. Asian Boxing on Twitter, they have a link for it as well if you want to go to them. If you're not following Asian Boxing on Twitter, that Twitter account is by far the best way to stay updated on everything happening over there, and plus just in the low weight classes. Shout out to them. Those guys do great work. Shout out to Superfly Boxing Podcast as well. I was talking to those guys as well. This fight was amazing. This fight's a fight of the year contender. It's two young guys. Tanaka's 23 years old. Kimura's 29. Two guys in their prime, in my opinion. Though Tanaka probably just starting his prime. Kimura probably more on the edge of it. Just because the lower weight classes guys fade earlier. But these are two guys that were peaking. Meeting at a time when they didn't need to. Put on a hell of a fight that was close. That could have gone both ways. And we are getting zero of that boxing Twitter argument. Dogfighting, basically, on social media about who won which rounds and how do you score fights. We're not getting that in this fight. All of us are just enjoying it. So shout out to just us as a community for once, okay? Because all the bitching we could be doing about this matchup, we're not doing. This fight was fantastic. It was back and forth. It could go either way. None of us are complaining about the scorecard, even though we could be, to be quite honest. No one's making conspiracy theories about corrupt judges because it doesn't need to be. This fight was purely fantastic. We are seeing a phenom in Kosei Tanaka that I think is, I'm not going to say unparalleled, because obviously there's a lot of phenoms right now in the sport. It's one of those ages where we're getting a lot of young guys, and I forget who said, I think it was the guy at Superfly Boxing Podcast and Mookie Alexander at Bloody Elbow. They were talking about it on Twitter about the amount of fighters that have, sub 20, 25 fight records that are pound-for-pound talents, either divisional champions or multi-divisional champions, undefeated records, fighting top competition, when we're so used to the 60-plus records, the 70-plus records, 80-plus records of fighters from not that long ago. 20, 30 years ago, you still had that sort of paradigm in the sport where guys were fighting every other week. That wasn't that long ago. And then we had a, really rapid change to this, in my opinion. And it's interesting, from the likes of Lomachenko to Inoue to even Sho Kimura, Anthony Joshua, Earl Spence. You start going down the line of guys that have very small resumes but already have elite level resumes. They have elite level wins. They're champions, unified champions, multi-divisional champions. This is kind of rare for the sport, I would say, from what it seems like, from what I've gathered from other people that watch the sport, that watch it longer than I have. It's a new thing, and I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what the consequences of it is, either pros or cons. Are we going to see guys really have shorter careers because their primes happen very early? I don't know. That's obviously a very negative way to look at it. Or we're just seeing great fights early on in people's careers when they're young, athletically gifted, and in their prime. No matter which way you look at it, it's just good to see. at this point, in the short term at least. Seeing guys like Kosei Tanaka, Inoue, Errol Spence, Anthony Joshua, Vasily Lomachenko get real opportunities, fight amazing competition, arguably put on Hall of Fame runs within 20, 25 fights is a rarity, and it's seemingly happening all the time right now. And I don't know if we can even call that a rarity anymore. I just want to point that out there. But again, Kosei Tanaka, fantastic performance, improved head movement, footwork, and just overall defensive acumen from him was good to see. He's been a rather hittable guy in his early career, just due to his aggressive style. But him to sort of, especially like round 6 to 10, his ability to stay on the back foot at times, slip shots, and come back with his quick combinations, it reminded me of what people used to think like Jorge Linares could do. And that might be a diss to in some people's mind. I don't mean it to be. But when we were really hyped on Linares' hand speed and footwork and movement and everything, and then obviously he just didn't have the durability to back it up, Tanaka does. So when he gets caught in his technical mistakes, because he's being a little bit athletic at the moment, being a little bit unorthodox, he's able to take those shots. He took some mean shots from Sho Kimura and was able to dish it back. Hurting him in the second round. The 12th round was back and forth. I think it was in the 12th round when Sho Kimura missed on a wide left hook, and the camera panned or switched to a close-up of his face, and both eyes are swelled up, shut, bleeding, and he has his, like, violence-loving grin on his face, like almost psychopathic-looking grin on his face. And Tanaka gives it right back, and they keep going at it for the rest of the round to finish it up. It was just impressive all around. I really have nothing but platitudes to say to both guys. They're fantastic fighters. I know Sho Kimura came out to the media in Japan and said that he might retire afterwards. To be honest, that's not a new thing for Japanese boxers when they lose that first fight at the pro level to sort of just call retirement. That's kind of common, actually. But I hope it doesn't happen. Sho Kimura is only 29 years old. Even though he had a rough start early in his career, he had a couple draws, a loss very early in his career. His first fight ever was a loss. His run in the last 4 years has been Hall of Fame worthy, arguably. And obviously he needed that Tanaka win to really prove it, and he didn't get it. But beating the celebrity that is Joe Shimming will always live on, in my opinion. Again, salute to Kosei Tanaka and obviously Sho Kimura. Fantastic fight between them. Just amazing stuff. We're going to go to a caller, though, and break up the monotony, because I want to hear Mr. Ron, the mastermind over at TBV. I want to hear his thoughts on, obviously, all this weekend's action. Ron, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, man?
Well, first off, how was Canelo Triple G? I saw you were there. I bet it was amazing.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. When I was there, first time watching it live, I did score it as a draw. I guess I was like the minority live watching, but obviously going back rewatching again, I kind of still hold my opinion about it going to be a draw. But it was definitely cool. The environment was fun. It was definitely exciting. It was kind of ran weirdly. I guess I didn't feel like they spaced the cards out properly, but I think they were trying to get those last pay-per-view buys in by stretching that out. But it was a good fight, 100%. But I definitely was going to skip over all the Anthony Joshua Povetkin stuff because I feel like I talked a lot about that, and everyone's talked a lot about that. But seeing that you talked about the Tanaka fight, that's why I was like, all right, I got to call him, because I don't think people really understood how good of a fight that was last night. I waited super late. I know you were probably up around like 1 or 2 o'clock, like I was watching that fight. And, the Asian boxing scene, the smaller weight classes, a lot of people don't give a lot of attention to, even like the Super Fight 3s, things like that, Super Fight 2s. They don't really give it a lot of attention unless they have some controversy like with Chocolatito. But the Tanaka fight, I I definitely agree with Matt that if you guys have not seen that fight, this is a very good fight to segue into the smaller weight classes. And, you know, Matt was putting on good points of, like, these prospects and stuff. Tanaka definitely showed a lot of talent in that fight. I mean, it was definitely a thinking game, a high-paced fight over 12 rounds. And this kid can really box, man. He looks really great. Not only the fact that he was able to hit that Lomachenko mark in 12 fights, 3 divisions, but he's only like 23. So he doesn't have the tremendous, overwhelming amateur background to kind of justify, you know, why he was able to do that so fast in his professional career. And I know some people say, hey, these are smaller weight classes, the jumps are not as significant. But when you see how this guy fights, for how long he fights, you have to give this guy tons of credit. And his opponent had like a Rocky built-in story. And, man, these guys really are kind of a slow-killing fight. Like when I watch the bigger guys, they knock each other out. You know, there's a lot of threatening blows where it can take someone's head off. They get knocked out and fall improper. But when you watch these guys, it's definitely like a grueling heart-to-heart, like, combat. You know, who really wants it more? And you can see the testament in these guys in the smaller weight classes. And Tanaka, not only fact show that he can, you know, can give it, he can take it, and he also showed a lot of boxing levels, you know, and that was a damn good fight. That was a good fight. So you guys definitely go to YouTube. It was for a WBO flyweight title. This guy is really good. He's also tied Inoue for, I think, for this. Inoue got 2 divisions, I think, at 8 professional fights. So I think Tanaka did the same thing too. So, but at this point, he's flying through the divisions. He's moving up the weight class. He looks great. And, you know, that Japanese class of fighters, Inoue, Kenshiro, those guys are all good fighters. So I'm just going to just kind of give my props to those Japanese dudes. And if you guys are hardcores, give it a chance, man. Go watch this specific fight. I definitely think it belongs up there in top 10 best fight of the year. You know?
Yeah, I agree that it definitely belongs in that top 10. Like it's in that discussion. I don't give it number 1 yet. Like I need to think about it. I needed to breathe a little bit first. But it's in that discussion. This is one of those fights that is probably up there with the top 20 flyweight fights of all time. And again, like you said, like if you want to be introduced to the low weight classes and you're not that guy, you're not that girl, this is that fight. The skill that's displayed, the power, the athleticism. It's like this is a reason why I love these fights more than Joshua Povetkin, Wilder Fury. Like I would take 10 of these over 100 of those any day of the week, because these fights are amazing, usually speaking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. Like after watching the Joshua and Povetkin, I mean, it was exciting. You get 2 big guys, there's drama, and then you get the knockout. You know, but you know, this is the type of fight where you really feel like you're watching those type of like gritty Rocky movies. Like, and it's not sloppy. Like, it's not like, you know, it's not like my attack towards like the Abner Mars and Leo Santa Cruz, because, you know, I know those are high action fights. But I felt like this fight itself, like you felt the levels of drama, that punching, like the punching was very effective. Like, I don't know if these guys had, you know, the Abner Mars and Leo Santa Cruz, like, have chins of hell, and like it doesn't look like, you know, they're able to, you know, hurt each other. But, you know, this fight itself, like, you really felt the punches, even at the small weight classes. So the punch selections were selected very well. You felt a lot of great movement, and even the body shots that Tanaka was getting. And, you know, he was taking a lot of tremendous body shots, and, you know, and he was able to kind of like, you know, rally back. You know these punches hurt. You know, for
yeah, he slowed down.
That was a great fight.
Yeah, I would say he slowed down in the mid rounds. That's why you had to see him sort of get on his bike a few times, have to use his head movement, and those were things we haven't really seen from Tanaka yet. So that was good to see. Like in the Tito Acosta fight, that was just a war. Like those guys had zero defense in that fight, and compare that with this one, it's quite different. It's still all out war, but it's a much more technical war while still being all action, all entertainment.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I felt like this was like a faster pace of like what Canelo and Triple G 2 was. You know, like I know some guys are probably, whoa, what are you guys talking about? Like, no. But if from my expectation, I thought this should have been what Canelo and Triple G should have been. I'm not saying that was not a great fight. I think that was one of the great fights of the year too. But like going into this fight, like you were completely, you were very happy from what you saw from these guys' performance. And I don't disagree with the winner too. I thought Tanaka had levels as well. So I thought that he deserved the win, well deserving. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to highlight this fight because like I said, a lot of these people don't probably watch the smaller weight classes, and I wanted to co-sign like this. It's not like some hipster fight that you're watching. It is a WBO flyweight. You get a guy who's moving up 3 divisions very fast and very young, and he's going to be with that class of like Inoue and like the Kinshiro. Like watch when the World Boxing Super Series comes. There's going to be some Japanese guys on those fight cards. So this is a good time to watch these guys in their young, early career. So because they don't have long-lasting careers, they get in very tough wars very fast, and they don't have a very long-lasting career. 20, 30 years, more likely it's probably like 10. Like, Tanaka's opponent, he's thinking about retiring. He's like only 29. Like he's had, I think, less than 20 fights, only like 2 losses or something. Well, that was his second loss, and he started out like a Tevin Farmer kind of story, and then he came in and did great, and he's already like, yo, I'm done. So, but big ups, Matt. Everyone who has not subscribed, support the guy. He works hard. So, and there was a good MMA fight also the weekend. That was also a grueling fight. The main event. I didn't get to catch the whole card, but I watched the main event.
What did you think about it?
That was also just as grueling.
What did you think about Thiago Santos? Do you think he should stay at 205?
Yeah. That's I don't want to mix their names up. Santos is the Brazilian guy, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I was watching some of the post-conference, and I was watching some of the commentary the guys were speaking, and I definitely felt like, from what I understood from the story, like he probably possesses his best opportunity in that weight class if he moves up. Some of the strengths and the things that they were mentioning that he had in that weight class may be neutralized, and so like his wrestling and things like that may suffer with a bigger guy, especially since his opponent moved up in weight on short term. He did great. I've seen him fight a couple of times before too. So I would like for him to just stay in that weight class and kind of see if he can get a little bit more dominant in that weight class, make things look very easy before he kind of moves up in weight. That's kind of usually what I like to see in guys before they even consider going up and taking bigger challenges, because I think he's good. I just want to see a little bit more dominance from that. But great performance from both. A lot of heart, action-packed fight too. I mean, I think I was definitely spoiled what I think some people probably thought would be a dry weekend of fighting. But that was a really good couple fights this weekend if you watch boxing and MMA.
Agreed. And definitely go watch the undercard if you can, Ron. Check out Ron the Mastermind at Fighter IQ, or obviously on the Boxing Boys, where he is a co-host on their podcast. I think we're going to get to the card. I'll get to the card in a second, but the card is good. I'll talk about it in a second, Ron. Definitely one worth going back and watching, especially if if you have some free time. It's late at night, pop on the prelims, because you got to watch that Francisco Trinaldo, Evan Dunham fight. Got to watch that one. We're going to move to another caller, because I see he did press one at Santiago. I know you do work a lot these days, so I want to get to your call before you are busy. How are you doing, man? I hope that you had the chance to see the Tanaka Kimura fight like I did, like Ron did, and others, because I definitely want your take on that. But how you doing, man? How's work?
Work's going good. Slow day, but not too slow. Just enough time to get my call in. And unfortunately, I did not get a chance to see the fight. I was passed out by the time that fight took place. But I'm not surprised that it happened, Kyle, because being with a guy like you and having been very educated on these lower weight classes a lot longer than most people would realize. I'm not surprised that they put on a war. I imagine when I get on, it's going to look exactly what I expect these fighters to look like, because especially the Japanese culture, they have that Bushido in them, man. They have that way of the samurai in them, and it's going to be fun to see how that fight played out.
And very quickly, Santiago, the feed I got, and I'll send you the link after the show. Remind me, maybe even text me if you can after the call, just so I have that text to remind me to send you the link. But the link I got had no commentary, zero commentary, just a hot mic of the arena. So all you could hear was the crowd, the punches, everything like that. It was amazing. Like I really hope networks look at that and have an option. Like the Zone has an option where you can just mute the commentary and just have a live like audio feed, obviously with the video feed as well, of the arena. Like no commentary, because it's so immersing. Because for most of these times when we watch these fights across the seas in Japan, it's Japanese commentators or sometimes Russian commentators, depending on the stream. I think it takes you out of the experience to hear someone that doesn't really speak your language. And also that I don't like regular commentary. I don't like people that have commentary in my own language most of the time. So it was great just to hear the crowd, that Japanese crowd that was, does the, with every little punch. That shit was amazing. It's a fight, man. I can't wait for you to watch it because you will love it. It's one of the best fights of the year by far.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that would be really dope if they follow suit with an option to mute the commentary crew, because that definitely takes me out of getting some fights in my archive, because I find the right full length fight, but it just happens to be in German or Russian or whatever, so it's just kind of like ugh. But yeah. Just to review everything that did happen, I was with you this Saturday for the live fight chat. We saw Anthony Joshua do his thing, work on some things. And the only thing that I really had to comment on that, of all the things that could have happened, was the Terrence Crawford level interview he gave, post-fight. You cracked up so much that I thought you had some Joker venom in you when I made that comparison.
It is Terrence Crawford-like. Those two guys are the worst at call-outs. I don't even want to really dwell on it because it makes me upset. Because I liked Anthony Joshua. I liked Terrence Crawford. Like, those two guys, if they said the right shit at the right time, they would be much bigger people when they already are, like, fixtures of their promotion and their network. Terrence Crawford's a fixture of Top Rank and ESPN. He is a figure piece of what they're doing over there. Obviously, Anthony Joshua is a figure piece of what Matchroom, Sky, DAZN are all doing. And yet these guys continually drop the ball when they could be even bigger, when they can propel the platform to a transcending level, and they don't. It's upsetting.
Yeah, the thing about that, too, is that they don't have to, compromise the personalities they want to carry when they're doing these things, too, They can keep it within their realm, but still add a little variety to it to get their name out there, because really having him just basically say, we're going to put out a Twitter poll, to me, it's just kind of like, the hell is this shit?
And then he did.
Just say Wilder.
And then he did.
Yeah.
And then he did. Like, the fact that no one said, hey, don't put up that poll. Like, just don't do it, man. And then he did. God. Hold on. Shots at Anthony Joshua and his team. Continue, Santiago.
Yeah, man, and the fact that he even had Derek Chisora on there as an option was kind of like, really, you're gonna go that extra step.
He didn't have Chisora. He didn't have Chisora. He had Dylan White.
Oh, Dylan White. I'm sorry,
yeah.
But the fact that he went on and added a third fighter too there is just ridiculous.
No. What I don't like is that he had Wilder and Fury as separate options. Like I hope people caught that, and this is not me putting on the tinfoil hat, but it a little bit is. Like, why would he put a potential winner and then a loser of a matchup happening in a few months? Why not put them in the same?
You're right.
Why not put them in the same option where you just put Wilder/Fury winner, and then you have the Dylan White, and then you have Derek Chisora, whoever, Gerald Miller. I don't give a fuck. But the fact that you put Wilder and Fury as if one of them loses, there's still an option that I could fight them, is ridiculous. Like, imagine if Wilder and Fury fought and Fury lost, and then it's Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury next. Imagine the shitstorm that there would be. And the fact that you put that option on there is ridiculous.
Yep, reverse everything Eddie Hearn said about Joshua going up at that point. He just was going downhill at that point. It'd be a fucking shit show, to say the least. But you know, I'm excited for this week. You know, I want to give a special shout out to Adon. Today's his birthday. We're going to be going on a road trip to Vegas on Thursday, so it's going to be fun. And I have the Zone and Showtime to keep me occupied while I'm in Vegas too, so that's going to be fun.
I'm glad to hear it. Give my best to Adon. I hope he has a great time in Vegas. Anything else, Santiago?
No, that's about it, dude. Unless you have anything particular you want to ask me, I got to get back to work.
Have a good one at work, man. Who said Jay Pryor Jay, obviously a loyal listener to the show, said Teddy Atlas was on the Joe Rogan Experience just now. It's a good listen. I didn't listen to it because I'll be honest, I'm a little bit iffy on Joe Rogan as his podcast stance. Not that he doesn't have good stuff here and there, don't get me wrong, but there's some times where me and him just disagree, fundamentally disagree on some things. However, when I saw Teddy Atlas was on, I'm like, oh God. Him and Teddy must be baked as fuck talking about boxing conspiracy theories. And I'm obviously going to watch it because it crisscrosses into really, obviously, my job more so than most of what Joe Rogan does, let's be honest, on his podcast. So I'll watch it. It's Teddy Atlas. Whatever we think about him, and I definitely have my opinions on him, he is still a fixture in the sport. He has been for decades and decades. He's a guy that either is in the Hall of Fame or will be in the Hall of Fame, let's be completely honest. He's a guy that should be respected in some way, even though he's an old curmudgeon Mr. Scrooge that is all over the place at times. Of course, that's digressing a little bit there. However, if you do want to get a quick synopsis of what happened on the show without actually watching it for a few hours, BoxRec Gray on Twitter, Gray Johnson, one of the main guys over at BoxRec, he did a live Twitter play-by-play of the podcast, and it's fucking hilarious. It's pretty good. So definitely go check out that if you do. If you don't want to watch it, because it's worth just reading, to be honest. Because Teddy Atlas, when Teddy Atlas is spoken of by other people, I think it's funnier because we all have this real, people that know the industry and know Teddy Atlas, we all have the same opinion about him. So we're all in on the joke in a way. So it was just funny. You got to go check it out. Quick little news thing before we head into the UFC card and the UFC news of the day and MMA news of the day. Per Mike Coppinger, I'm told there's still no venue for Wilder Fury remains either Mandalay in Vegas or Staples in LA. Also told press tour, which was set last week for kickoff October 1st, will begin in London, October 2nd in New York. The following day in LA could be open to the public. Because I know the press tour got pushed back a week and anything like that. I'm just wondering what's happening here. It'd be interesting to see, if somebody says why there was this seeming delayed announcement and rollout of this entire event, because it was supposed to be today. Today was supposed to be the first day of the press tour. And then it got pushed back, obviously, to next week, I want to say, or the week after. I think it's next week. I'm curious as to why there's that week delay. Obviously, the fight's happening. There's no conspiracy here about how the fight's not happening now. The fight's happening. It is 100% happening. Both the networks are making posters and promos about it. They would not put the dollars and cents into this marketing if the fight wasn't legitimately happening. If they did not have reassurance in writing about this fight happening. Let's be completely honest about that. So next week, Monday, press tour for this event kicks off. It's going to be interesting. It's going to get a little bit WWE, let's be completely honest, and that alone will be interesting to talk about, so I cannot wait for that tour. Definitely going to make this show fun and interesting, for sure, especially if it conflicts with the showtime and then it gets pushed back, because every fucking time we have a weigh-in or a press conference, it's always exactly at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Eastern, live on YouTube, Mix on My Radio, podcast, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc. You know what I mean. Moving on, though. UFC Sao Paulo. Not much to say about this card otherwise because a lot of the fights were kind of showcases in a way or kind of one-sided, like Alex Oliveira versus Carlo Pedasoli. 39-second knockout, not much to say there. Leonard Nogueira versus Sam Smiling Alvey. Second round knockout. I hope Leonard retires and he's done. Brandon Marcos got a majority draw against Marina Rodriguez. That's unfortunate. But credit to where it's due. Two guys I want to give a lot of credit to. Charles the Bronx Oliveira defeating Christoph Giagos via submission and breaking the Hoist Gracie record for all-time submissions in the UFC. Salute to Charles Oliveira. Francisco Trinaldo retired Evan Dunham via a vicious TKO knee to the body. Beautiful step-in knee. Amazing stuff there. Obviously, Evan Dunham retiring. Rather unfortunate, but I think it's the right time for him to go. Sergio Moraes defeating Ben Saunders via submission. Great stuff there. And then plus, after the fight, they're in the back room, and Ben Saunders asked Sergio Moraes to teach him how he submitted him. And that was just a cool moment. So salute to those guys, man. And Tadas Lights is retiring as well. Salute to him. Great career. Defeating Hector Lombard via unanimous decision. And obviously with the main event, Thiago Santos defeating Eric Anders via TKO referee stoppage in the third round. Vicious elbows along the fence as Eric Anders tried to have a takedown. And obviously was just too tired to pull it off. Both guys came in late notice for the fight. Both guys moved up to weight class for this fight. I hope Thiago Santos stays in this weight class. I think he is a rather special talent. Even though he has inconsistencies, he has holds, he can get caught. Even in moments where Eric Anders had success on the ground, almost locked up submissions, we saw those holes in Thiago Santos' game, which is there. But against really everyone but, John Jones, Gustafsson, DC, Thiago Santos could potentially beat everyone in this weight class. So I think he should stay here. 185 is just a shark tank right now, and it's a hard road to that top, let's be completely honest. But fantastic performance by Thiago Santos, like Ron said. Good, grueling fight. Both guys were exhausted by the end of it, but fun fight nonetheless. And last little news of the day. Per Brian Ortega, and then sort of confirmed by Damon Martin, Brian Ortega going on Twitter saying, "We both said yes, now send over that contract," talking about the Max Holloway featherweight title fight later on this year. And Dan Martin saying, "It's true, this fight is still not official. Bout agreements have been issued to either fight or UFC 231. And I'm assuming that this fight gets made within maybe a week or two. And just want to sort of like update people on this fight, 'cause I know I got talked about on this show maybe a few weeks ago. And it's now confirmation that the fight is not official. It's close to official. Both guys are saying yes. They're just needing a obvious contract to sign. And hopefully it's just a matter of the lawyers writing it up, etc. Eric Rhodes is saying Ortega versus Holloway has to happen. I agree. It has to happen for this division. In a division that's seemingly finally on the right path again after the Conor McGregor exodus, you need this fight. You need this matchup to sort of establish that guy. And even though, let's be honest, I think both guys are going to move up to 155 in the next few years, especially Holloway. Holloway is going to move up sooner. That guy cuts a massive amount of weight that we don't talk about. I mean, he probably cuts nearly, from what I've heard, again, rumors alleged, he cuts from like 170 plus down to 155. You know, he's cutting 20 plus pounds. That's not healthy. It just isn't for anyone. But anyways, that is it for the news and obviously the show for today. Hope you hit the like button on the way out. Hope you like the show. Share the show, subscribe, patreon.com/MixTimeOutRadio. If you are listening on podcasts, drop that review. Always helpful to spread exposure for the show. And what else? Anything else? No, Matt Hunter, MCR, all platforms. I'll be back obviously tomorrow, same time as always, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. in the UK. What else? That's about it. Fights this weekend, obviously Bellator to look forward to. Is there any boxing this weekend? I feel like there is. I just can't remember. anyways, obviously that's for Wednesday's show. Get back tomorrow. Have a great day. Peace.